Hey guys, welcome to the ThinkSports podcast. Today I have my co-host Arjun with me. We are missing Rono because he has better things to do, so he's not going to join us today. But our guests today are Keshav, who is an avid Chelsea fan, and we have Liam, who is a United fan. And today we're going to talk about the Premier League preview and how we think our clubs are going to place in the coming season. So, Arjun, given that you're champion, why don't you start off with how you feel Liverpool's going to do in the coming season based off the transfer window you've had? And why don't you just go into how you feel about Liverpool right now?
Well, to be honest, I'm still optimistic, but this summer has been a bit frustrating for me as a Liverpool fan. While I understand on one end, we have a really good team. It's difficult to add something to that you have just won. But I am frustrated because we are linked with a few players like Thiago Alcantara. Personally, I'd love to have him come and join us because he gives our midfield something different that we lack. Also, I'm a great believer in the fact that we haven't changed much in the last 2 years. Our last two transfer windows, we haven't bought anyone. Whilst I understand it's difficult to buy players, I want to see some players come in to just refresh the squad and make sure that the competition level is higher. So, as a summer, it's been really frustrating because our rivals have strengthened quite a bit, at least Chelsea, United. Arsenal are strengthening at this point. I don't particularly think Tottenham are in the conversation just yet. But again, Mourinho's second season, you can never really say. Man City, so far, I'm still, as a Liverpool fan, I'm happy. But as we record this video, I mean, there's still a long time left for the transfer window. I am worried about the fact that maybe Koulibaly might join Man City. And I think he's a difference maker. If Koulibaly joins Man City, I think that just edges them ahead of us a little bit. But as of now, I mean, come on, we've been champions for the first time in 30 years, just 2 months ago. I have no reason to be unhappy. We've got a wonderful team. I am a bit worried about the fact that we've gone 2 seasons without a lot of injuries. So we have been lucky in that regard. I mean, if our front three, if any one of them gets injured, the quality that comes in after that is not at that level. And of course, if Virgil van Dijk gets injured, that's a huge loss to any defense. So whilst that's something you can't really control, I mean, injuries are part of the game, so it will happen. But I am a bit frustrated that we haven't been able to add to our squad just to improve it a little bit, certainly in areas that we do need a bit of addressing. But I'm optimistic. I'm happy. I've still got a good team. We haven't sold anyone. We haven't lost any major stars. So, and we have, what I believe, the best manager in the world right now in Jurgen Klopp. So that fills me with a lot of hope. But talking about
It's funny
transfers,
because while you're saying this,
yeah,
Gini Wijnaldum is linked to go to Barcelona.
yeah,
But
I
then
am
if that
worried.
happens, won't they get like a replacement? So they'll obviously get 15 to 30 for Genie, and so they'll probably buy someone like Thiago with that
I
cash.
mean,
Yeah,
you'd think
I
they
am.
would,
Yeah, but I'm
but
conflicted. I'm conflicted with losing Gini Wijnaldum and getting Thiago Alcantara in. Thiago's a fantastic player. I watched him
But
play
they're very
Champions League
different
final.
players, right? Like
Yeah,
they
but
have
a
very
very
different
different
things.
profile. And also a lot of what Gini Wijnaldum does goes unnoticed. There's a lot of off the ball running. There's a lot of work that's being done that Klopp really appreciates. And you actually don't really see it in the stats, but in the overall game, it's reflective. So right now, I don't want to lose Gini Wijnaldum. But if his heart is set on going to Barcelona because this is Football Club Barcelona, despite the turmoil that they are in, if he wants to go there and we do replace him with Thiago Alcantara, I'll be okay. I'll be happy with that. Saying.
what about
Talking
you,
about
Liam? What
transfers,
about
man,
United?
I want to talk about
Just waiting for. Go for it, go for it. I was
How
just
you
waiting
feeling
for
about
Arjun
Van
to
de
give
Beek?
us a chance to talk.
Yeah.
Same monologue.
Yeah.
Cut him some slack, man. He just won the
But
league.
wait, like I mean, apart from Thiago, who else has Liverpool been linked to? Because see, technically, like how do you rate Liverpool's squad depth? Like, I mean, apart from your usual substitutes, do you feel like you have people who can deputize if, say, a main player gets injured?
So we've been linked with Ismail Assar a lot from Watford. I haven't really seen much of him, but He comes
I've
in the
watched
same.
one game where he played.
He scored against
Destroyed us,
Chelsea, I
One
think.
game where he scored.
ended our unbeaten run. So I was quite angry about that. But he comes in the same Sadio Mane mold of player. It's a type of player that Klopp really likes, so he can build and develop these players. Coming back to the question that Keshav asked, the backup isn't great that we have. I'm particularly worried about our front three. Right? Once if one of them gets injured, we have Minamino, who has shown in short spells what he's capable of, right? But I still feel he's a bit weak for the Premier League. Divock Origi is hit and miss. And on the right-hand side, primarily we have Jordan Shaqiri. Maybe Harry Wilson stays. But they aren't ideal replacements to take us or win us games over a long period of time. So,
Not like
squad
City,
depth,
for example.
sorry?
It's not like City, for example, where they
Yeah,
have
it's not
people
like
to back up.
Man City is, for example.
They have world-class players on the bench. Just
Yeah, so if we get a major injury, of course it'll be a blow for us. But I understand why he isn't being able to sign so many players, because we've read a lot of different articles about where our finances have gone, because we're trying to get a new training complex in. We've invested money in terms of our stadium development. We're trying to increase the capacity again from 53 to 61,000. So I understand that the money is being spent in different areas, but I am still optimistic that we have a good starting 11 and a good 15, 16 players in our squad. So yeah.
I agree with that. Like, I mean, I still think it's a great time to be a Liverpool fan at the moment, right? Because
Absolutely, yeah.
I think like Liverpool have the best starting 11 in the world right now. I mean, tell me one like.
I mean, there is an argument for Bayern Munich right now. I
Bayern
think they have a
Munich, yeah,
fantastic
exactly.
starting
Yeah.
11
they just
in this regards. But yeah, it's like you said.
Bayern, aren't they like an aging squad also? Like, I mean, but I haven't really followed Bayern as much, so I probably. But like, I mean, I do like
They have a
players
good
like left
mixture of
yeah, they
experience.
have a really good
yeah.
mixture of like age groups.
and with
right?
Leroy Sané coming in, I'm sure like
Yeah, it
it's
just
gonna
makes
be
them.
Yeah, that
a very
it's
big
scary
positive.
how good that team like it will look in attack with Leroy Sané. To think Leroy Sané will be bombing down the wings with that team, it's crazy. Anyway, we were going to Liam to talk about United before Arjun took the thing again.
Yeah,
Anyway,
so we'll start off with Van de Beek. Of course, all of us are pretty excited about it. I didn't really see it coming. I heard a couple of rumors last season, but then it happened, so I'm happy about that. The Sancho fiasco is definitely annoying. It's frustrating. You don't know whether it's going to happen or not. I really hope it does, because I mean, he's a quality player, and he may give us that missing edge that we require. Even though our front three did finish the season well, I still think we need someone like Sancho. We can't put all our eggs in one basket when it comes to Mason Greenwood. Apart from that, I'm happy that Pogba is staying, although I'm still not convinced about his attitude and his dedication. But he seems to be enjoying his football now that Bruno's come in, and now that we're playing a better style of football under Ole. So that's good, but I still think we need to strengthen. I don't think Luke Shaw is doing a great job. We've been linked to Regulon, so hopefully that comes through. But at this point, if we get anyone, any signing, I'll be happy. I mean, it's just that you just need that fresh outlook, as Arjun said.
do you think you'll get Sancho? Because if I thought that chapter was closed, I thought that's not
Oh, it's
happening.
still ongoing, I think.
Because
So-
I thought Borussia Dortmund aren't budging from their like buyout clause.
I think it's all part of the ploy. If we do manage to cough up the sum, then they'll probably give in. The good thing is that it's a long window. Hopefully, it doesn't go elsewhere. It's possible it can be hijacked by
October,
anyone.
right? We still
Bro,
have a good month.
I doubt anyone can afford him though. Like I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
I
true.
don't see any other team paying 130 mil for Jadon Sancho. Like no, I think he's quality, but these because we've seen these transfers go badly, right? In the past, we've seen Barca buy Osman Dembele for the almost exactly same amount, right? And that just did not work out. So I mean, I feel like no other team's gonna buy him, but yeah, I don't know. I don't see United kind of negotiating with them again. I feel like that relationship has soured a little bit.
We see
But,
what's
I mean,
interesting
yeah.
is United have history, because they did the same thing with Harry Maguire and Leicester City. So they let it drag on all through the summer, and they only got him in the first week of
Just
August.
coughed up the money.
Right? They did the same thing with Bruno Fernandes because they started linking him
Very
on the
true.
4th or 5th of January this year, and they bought him on the 29th of January. So they do come back to the table and just pay the amount of money that the club wants, which is what Borussia Dortmund want at the end of the day. So it would be interesting. I am interested in asking Liam, if Jadon Sancho does come, who doesn't start for United then in that front three?
I feel it would have to be Greenwood because I know I do want him to start. I think it would help his development and everything. But as of now, I think we really need to get a move on. There's no time for. I mean, I don't think we're going to challenge for the title this year, but we still have to get a move on in the right direction. So even if it's just a good, solid top four finish or whatever it is, I think we need to have our best players on the field. And Rashford and Martial really won me over this year with his second half of the season, with his performance there, with his off the ball movement, his dedication, his finishing is ice cold, as they say. So those, I think that would be the best front three that we have, and I think we may try to switch our formation up a bit, try and do what Liverpool's doing, but the fact that maybe that's why Van de Beek has been brought in with the legs, because I think Matic, even though he is great, he is still aging. So I think we might see a switch in formation if we do get Sancho in.
What
Do
about
you see?
Scott
Do you see
McTominay?
Van der Beek, Pogba, and Fernandes starting together in midfield?
I don't see it as we start the season. I don't think that's going to happen as of now, but I think we can. I mean, I look at Liverpool right now as the top team, as Keshav said, and they do it superbly. The way they're, and that's why I said we may need a better. We definitely need a better left back. And even though Van Bissaka isn't as great going forward, I think he can still improve there. So once that happens, I don't know how great Van de Beek is in defense, whether he'll manage. But I know Pogba will be able to play that box-to-box role, and gives his life. So that's pretty much all
And,
we need right
and
now.
and it's crazy about Pogba is that he's so like it looks he has so much quality. Whenever he actually like turns it up, United wins. Right? Like you see whenever Pogba plays well, United plays well. It seems like he's like that key, right? Although that is until Bruno Fernandes came. Because when Bruno came, things started looking a lot more fluid. But it's weird that you said so. I get that you displace Greenwood and put, like when you're putting in Sancho because it looks like that's the most that's the most obvious substitution, right? But it's also strange because from all I have seen of United in the second, like since the restart, it seems like Mason Greenwood is your best finisher. Like, as much as you don't want to say that like an 18-year-old is better than Marcus Rashford, who's been in the league for a while, Martial, and Martial's a great finisher, but Mason Greenwood finishes everything, right? Like with either foot, he just bangs that shot in, and he just powers through and puts it in, right? Like I don't know, it's tough to displace. Like he's done nothing wrong, right?
Yeah,
So it's
true,
tough to
true.
displace.
I agree. As a striker, I completely agree. I love Mason Greenwood. I mean, he's what 5 years younger than me, and his finishing ability is incredible. I mean, if we score a goal or take a shot with our left, we're pretty happy. But he's incredible.
And he just puts his
So
laces through it. He doesn't even
yeah,
like.
that's what.
He
It's
doesn't
not
attempt.
about finesse or
Yeah.
anything like that. And that's why I get your point. But I'd like to see him play through the center. Maybe not now. Maybe later on, because we've never really seen him play through the center. I don't know about the youth games and the youth teams. I don't know where he plays there. But so far, yeah. See, you never know with Martial, Rashford, Sancho. We could keep switching. Greenwood will definitely get a lot of time in the cup games as well. He'll come on as a sub. I don't see Rashford and Martial playing the 90 every single week right now because Ole has been chopping and changing them. They have Rashford has been injured a bit as well. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully Greenwood isn't in any trouble after what happened.
Yeah.
Recently, yeah.
These English kids never learn, man. These English kids never learn. It's funny because so the Arsenal transfer window has been like it's a weird one, right? Because Arteta looks like he knows what he's doing, and he looks like he's a manager that has things together, and he like tactically adept. And so we bought So we've got in William Saliba, like we bought him last season, but we got him in this season. But he's like an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid from France. And we just bought Gabriel, who is like another youngster. He's 22, center back from France. I'm sure he's highly rated there. I haven't really seen him play. But I saw everyone super happy. So I guess I'm happy that we've got a center back and now we don't have to depend on Mustafi because that's not happening. But it's I think the biggest decision now is so one is I think we need a midfielder, right? We need to get either Partey or Nawar or one of those guys, someone, right? Because I feel like that is the place where we're the weakest, which is why I'm super happy we got Danny Ceballos back. Because I feel like he offered some stability. He did a lot in defense since the restart, right? Like he was tackling, like he was really good in our own box, which is not somewhere you expect a central midfielder to like excel, right? And but it's interesting. Like I feel like Arteta has a big decision with our goalkeeper situation because since Leno got injured, Martinez has come and he's really kept he's kept supremely well. He's kept everything that he should have kept out. He's been very composed on his feet and stuff. So I feel like that is the biggest test, right? To see who he's gonna start. Because Leno, as a keeper, I feel like Leno's better. I feel like Leno's a better shot stopper and all of that. But Martinez does look more comfortable on the ball and seems to be more comfortable in playing out of the back system. So I think that'll be super interesting from an Arsenal perspective to see how we do from there.
That's a pretty good point you made there. Do you think he'll make that decision since he's coming from a Pep background and everything? Do you think he'll take that decision and say, you know what, Leno doesn't start and Martinez gets the nod?
So if he's like Pep, like you remember when Pep brought in Claudio Bravo?
Yeah.
Was it? To play out because that was like he liked him because you could play out the back and stuff. So if he's like that, then I'm guessing he'd keep Martinez. But I feel like Leno is just like a big German keeper that's just supremely comfortable saving shots. He's just a better shot stopper. So I think as a goalkeeper, Leno is better, and you just feel like so safe when Leno is a keeper. So I don't know. It is a tough decision. I'll be happy with either. I don't want Emi to just get benched. I think he's done too much to get benched. But it's the same with Leno. I think Leno hasn't put a foot wrong. So it'd be sad to see him benched as well. I think it's a tough
to have.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. It's a good problem.
We have the same headache now, so I forgot about Henderson. I'm happy that he's
listen, United have the same headache that's coming. But how do you see Arteta setting up in the new season? Is it still a back three? Do you see?
So it's weird because the back three seems to work against the big clubs. He knows what he's doing against big clubs, right? When we don't have the ball, and I think I don't remember which pundit it was. It might have been Roy Keane or someone. But they said it the best, right? Where they said Arsenal looks so much better without the ball. And although that's something we haven't said about Arsenal in the last, 10 years? I mean, not 10 years, maybe stretching it, 5 at least, where we just looked clueless without the ball. Like we never seemed to know what to do when we didn't have the ball, especially in the fag end of like Wenger's career, right? We played beautiful football in attack, but in defense, we look clueless, right? So now I feel like we've kind of switched it around where we look more compact and more like a team in defense, but can't seem to create those chances against the smaller teams. That's how we kind of went and lost to Aston Villa after beating Liverpool and City. And so it was Wolves away, Liverpool, City, and then we lost to Aston Villa, right? Because I feel like we need that creativity. And we just need a stronger midfield. I honestly don't know how we'll set up. If we set up with a 3-man defense, I don't know how we'd kind of solve our creative problem because I don't see Oba scoring goals with headers. And of course, Bellerin and Tierney, no matter how good Tierney is, I think he's insane. They aren't Trent and Robertson. Like, it's not the same thing. They're not going to start putting in balls that our strikers will get on the end. Like, they won't be our primary creators. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how we start. I think it'll all depend on whether we get that midfielder or not. I think that'll be super vital to how we play the entire season. But I think let's move on from like these small clubs. So we're talking small. We're talking small players, 1 or 2 players. Let's go to Chelsea.
Changes. Yeah, small.
Yeah, let's talk about Chelsea, who bought everyone. Right?
Elephant
all
in
day.
the room.
Keshav, why don't you tell us about Chelsea's transfer window?
Cool. Okay, so where were we? Chelsea's transfer window, right? Okay, so like I mean, given the fact that we had a transfer ban like for the past two windows, I think like the club's done really well, strengthening areas that they really needed to strengthen, right? I mean, they needed like a good backup strike. Like they needed a striker because last season. So think about the two last transfers that we made, like the ones that we sold. We sold Eden Hazard and Alvaro Morata, right? Without really getting anyone in to replace them. So like the first thing the club did was replacing those two positions. So like I think like what by May they'd already signed Werner and Ziyech, and I don't know, like so I think the club's done pretty well filling in those gaps, and now the fact that we've gone that extra mile, signed a couple of centre backs because we've been facing so many defensive issues this season, signing a left back, which has been a problem area for the club for the past two seasons, signing a central attacking midfielder also, because throughout most of this season, we really didn't have that extra creativity in the final third, right? Because whenever, like, say, I remember during the Christmas period when Chelsea had like a ton of games, they were playing well up till the final third, and in the final third, they just couldn't cope with the defensive press, the defensive pressure, and they just wouldn't break down defenses to like get the final goal that they really needed. Like, so they do everything really well until the final third, and then it would just stagnate. So the fact that we've gone ahead, gone that extra mile, gotten Kai Havertz, I think it's a great move by the club, and like it just shows the fact that, I mean, in my opinion, the fact that Marina Granovsky is probably one of the best negotiators in the business right now.
He seems to be the
So
only
yeah, I
person who
mean,
can negotiate with Dortmund. 60 mil for Pulisic is a steal. There's, I think he's a
50,
phenomenal.
I think. But yeah,
That's even less. So
Super,
that's
super.
unbelievable signing. No, he's definitely
yeah.
top. Yeah.
But how do
But
you
also now,
envisage?
I'm sure people.
How do you envisage Chelsea setting up this season? Because I'm quite confused as to how they're going to go about fitting everyone in. Because it's, I mean, what came to my mind was a 4-2-3-1 probably. With probably Kante sits, maybe Kovacic sits. But you have players like Mason Mount, Callum Hudson-Odoi. What happens to Tammy Abraham? So how do you think they're going to set up?
So I think this season of all seasons, it's not just going to be about the starting 11, but the overall squad. Given the fact that we're starting the season a month late, like usually like the Premier League season starts around mid-August. Instead, this time we're starting mid-September, following more or less the same schedule and trying to end a little early in order to in order to like fit in the Euros next year. So it's going to be like a smaller, shorter season. So it's going to have like a lot more, like the games are just going to be more and more compressed, and it just leaves a lot of room for injuries, right? So I think squad rotation is going to be a very important aspect this season, and I feel like the fact that Chelsea have the options this year gives them a lot of bandwidth as to how they can go about like starting, like having like a proper starting 11. Because yeah, like starting 11, like right now, say apart from goalkeeper, like they have options for each and every position, right? And I'm sure, like, I mean, the fact that Chelsea just bought in players right now, I'm sure by the end of the transfer window, they will make at least a couple of sales. Like, I don't see them going through this entire window with the same squad. I do see players like, say, maybe Jorginho or Michi Batshuayi leaving because they probably haven't been getting the game time that they feel that they deserve. So I think that Chelsea will definitely be making a few sales in order to finance a few of the moves, a few of the transfers that they have made this window. And yeah, but like I think given the fact that they've already strengthened quite a few areas, I mean, I still feel like they have plenty of options to choose from this year.
Yeah, no, even so, Giroud, the fact that you have Giroud as like a third choice striker, you have to sell, right? Like he's too good to be like a third choice
You
striker.
never know, right?
I think I feel like Lampard kind of like throughout the season we saw Lampard play Tammy over Giroud, right? It looks like he wants to give youth a chance. I don't know whether he doesn't like Giroud or what the preference is there. But it does look like he starts Tammy over Giroud and then brings Giroud on towards the end of the game to kind of get in, like
But
become a target man.
but since January, Giroud has been starting over Tammy also. So like you never know. And you
I
can't
think
discount
Giroud,
the fact that he might just play a two-striker system, right? Because
no,
Lampard, as a
I
Chelsea
think
player, had
Giroud with Timo Werner running in behind will be unbelievable. I think like the French system, right?
Exactly, right? Yeah.
Giroud coming in and
Yeah,
then
so
like
it's similar to what Chelsea had around. So similar to the system that Chelsea had when they had Ancelotti as a manager, right? Like Lampard had his best few seasons at Chelsea with the two-striker system, where they had Drogba and Anelka. So like both very different strikers, right? Drogba was more of the target man, whereas Anelka used to make the smart runs and was more of the poacher, right? So you can definitely see a similar dynamic with, say, a Werner Giroud or a Werner Tammy. So like I mean, it'll be like a very interesting. I mean, it's definitely going to be a very interesting prospect this season for Chelsea.
I feel like Werner and Tammy are are way too similar to play on the same time, like at the same time. Because I feel like Werner, don't get me wrong, I think Werner's a lot better, but I think they have very similar attributes, right? Like quick,
No, definitely.
can
Like
run
both, like
in.
so both on target men, right? Like both of them
Yeah,
prefer
exactly.
making the runs behind the lines and getting into
Yeah,
space. So Werner does that really well, but that's also because he's a more mature player, right? He's
yeah.
been doing this in the Bundesliga for years now. Tammy's just had one Premier League season, and in that one Premier League season, he's managed to get what 15 plus goals, 15 to 17 goals. I'm not too sure what the
I'm not
number
sure.
is, but he's
Quite a
I
few.
mean he had a very decent first half of the season, and like yeah, second half his form definitely did die down, which probably allowed a player like Giroud to step in and really like take over from there. So given the fact that Chelsea already have three really good strikers, I mean I don't particularly see Michi Batshuayi fitting into the squad at the moment. So yeah, it's again like as you guys had mentioned earlier, right, it's a good headache to have for the
Yeah.
manager.
So, guys, thanks for tuning in to the ThinkSports podcast. If you like this episode, you can follow us on our social media and go follow other episodes and similar content on all podcast channels like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.